Hey, how are you doing? This is Trigger, and I'm bringing you some more Castlevania on difficult mode. This is probably the best game footage I've gotten fighting against Dracula on difficult mode. So, a few things I want to talk about today. Number one, it's Tuesday, and number two, I want to talk about hypocrisy. And so, that's something that I've had an issue with people, and that's something that it's always been a little difficult for me to, forgive people that are a bit hypocritical. And I did talk about this, I didn't really talk about hypocrisy, but I talked about forgiveness in a previous video. And that's been something that I've had a problem with. I've had my struggle trying to deal with people that are hypocritical in certain ways. And I know there's a lot of people out there that do that in particularly hypocrisy is do as I say, not as I do. And that's pretty much the basis, that's the key form of it right there. And that's something I've had a problem with people when they've done that. And I'm sure those of you that see it have that problem too. I'm sure you may have done that at some point in your life. The fact is nobody is perfect. I think it was St. Paul that said that, no man is, I can't remember the quote right now, but, I'm sure some of you probably remember it. But, nobody is perfect. It's a difficult thing to get out of, I'm sure, for those of you that have that problem, that's always been a difficult thing in life that I think some people have dealt with. I think it's not so much that you come into a case where you want to be hypocritical. I think it just sort of happens in a way where you think you're doing the right thing, but then you don't want that person to do this thing, but it's okay for you to do it. And I think there's a lot of times where you could say, well, my parents watch these movies, but I can't watch these movies because they tell me not to. Now, there are certain rules and things that apply to certain age ranges and, family values and things that happen within your family that you're just going to have to get along with. You're just going to have to follow. If you're still living at home, you're not an adult yet, you haven't moved out, and your parents have house rules, you have to live by a certain set of rules. Now, if you move back in with your parents, that's a little different because, you have to try to follow some house rules, but you are an adult already, you've been living on your own, you've had your own life, and, you have to have some respect in that sense too. As long as you can handle whatever it is that that you're doing. But besides that point, hypocrisy sort of stems a little bit from pride. And I'm going to say it stems a little bit from pride because you may have set something upon someone else. And I'm not saying upon your children. Usually your children, you're supposed to, guide them and teach them and cultivate them mentally and, and try to help them grow. It's a weaning process. You're supposed to help the child grow up enough that they can live on their own and live out their life and be a continuation of what you are. It's kind of like you're passing along your soul or your essence to your child in a way, in a manner of speaking. So, as far as teaching a child, there's going to be things that you can do, but you don't want your children to do, or you don't want your child to do because you did these things, their life experiences, you don't want them to do that. But as far as doing it for someone else, where you're like, do this, but, or don't do this, but I can do this because, I can handle this or whatever, that doesn't help. Even like if someone had a problem with something and you knew that, you knew that person, let's say you lived with them, they were roommates or something like that, and they had a problem with a particular thing, and you told them not to do this and that, but yet you are doing it yourself, and they have some kind of access to what you're doing, in which case you think it's a problem, but you're doing it as well, you know, you're telling them not to do it, but you're doing it, that's hypocritical, and that's also not helpful for them, you know, in that sense. And I think that might sort of explain, you know, a little bit about, you know, why some people have a difficult time listening to you, you know, if you tell them not to do something, but yet you're doing it, because if you're with them in any type of way, you have access to these things that you're telling them not to have access to, but, you know, you're doing that particular thing, it makes it difficult for them to want to listen to you, you know, and, you know, follow your advice. But hypocrisy is just a normal, bad thing to do. It's not a healthy thing to do for anybody, really. And it's something I would just try to, you know, avoid altogether, because it doesn't make you look like a very nice person in a lot of senses. You know, makes you look like a prideful person and that you're full of yourself, and that's generally what people think. And you know, that, and if someone just keeps doing it all the time, it doesn't really, you know, if you know that person, they do it a lot, you don't really feel, you know, very confident about being around them. You don't really enjoy their company. So, you know, that's something that I thought I would share. I think that, you know, hypocrisy, you know, it stretches to a lot of people. It's not just one particular person. You know, a lot of people have done a little bit of that, I'm sure. Maybe some people have never done that, but it's one of those things that you really need to try to get rid of, because it doesn't help you make friends, and it doesn't, you know, help you in a lot of situations. So yeah, I just thought I'd talk about that. This is a really good gameplay that I got playing Castlevania on hard. This is one of my first times actually. It wasn't my first time trying to fight against Dracula, but it was one of the first few times that I played against Dracula on difficult mode, on hard mode, and we beat it very quickly. You know, I still didn't understand, like, you know, how Dracula went through his different forms and, you know, what he would do. I kind of had a sort of an idea. I mean, you know, a little bit of a vague idea, but yeah, I think that's something that, you know, if you want to talk to someone that has a little bit of hypocrisy, or you think they're a little hypocritical, you know, you really need to, you know, go through that and discuss that with that person. I just thought I'd share that with you. You know, it's Tuesday, and so yeah, I guess I will talk to you later. Thanks a lot for watching, and bye.
What's up? What's up?